Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot Country with the comic book roundup. We've covered this week's X-Men books as well as this week's Star Wars books. So now it's on to this week's Avengers titles, Spider-Man titles, and our entry from Boom Studios this week. Kicking things off, we've got Black Widow, number 12. Where we left off after, the widows, Natasha and Yelena, had gotten some intel from a curious pair of twins. However, the twins informed their basically other members exactly of the intelligence they passed on to Yelena and Natasha. Namely of a another pricey gala coming up that perhaps the widows would be interested in going to. So the issue begins with Natasha dreaming of Stevie and James when Winter Soldier comes to wake her up. She acts instinctively until before realizing it's Bucky. But part of the reason James is there and Natasha's talking to her is that she did make a point of trying to find James and Stevie, her ex-fiance and child. And so Bucky tells her, she tells Bucky that she won't do it again, but that's not it's not good enough, and he apologizes, and that's why she did it. And she explained that she wanted to make sure that they were really safe. If her people could find them, then Bucky didn't do his job well enough. And when he asked if that's all, she adds that she wanted to see them. And they briefly talk about Stevie, but they're plotting an operation. They've got backup, Winter Soldier, Hawkeye, as well as Spider-Girl and Lucy Wen. Hawkeye is being, the train wreck we all know and love. Well, okay, that I know and love, but still. But they go over their plan over food. Plan is they attend the Golden Gate Gala, an annual benefit to raise money for endangered animals. So rather than but the plan is that instead of disguising who they are, they're going to go in openly, open about who they are. With Natasha explained, drawing the eye can be almost as useful to them as being unseen. They have to assume that the twins sold them out. They did. So the people know the people who are in charge know they're coming, and they'll be watching. But Natasha takes turns dancing with Hawkeye and Winter Soldier, but Bucky kind of wants a little bit of clarification with him explaining that Clint's the guy that Natasha wants in public, that he does well in those situations, and that's fine, but Natasha quickly corrects him, saying that Clint's terrible in those situations, doesn't know what a color button is, he doesn't know which fork to use. There's two dances, only one of which is appropriate for human consumption. The fact of the matter is, people know his face. Clint Barton, Hawkeye, Avenger, himbo at large, at least to the ignorant public. and that's the persona she's trying. That's part of the persona that Natasha's trying to establish. Of course, everything they're saying Clint can hear by the comms, and so. But she adds also that Clint has the sharpest eyes that she's ever seen, and that's considering that she knows him, she knows Winter Soldier and herself. That's really saying something. However, one of the people who matter pop up and cut in. Apparently, at the Golden Gate Gala, they've never had a superhero present. There have been plenty of superheroes that operate out of San Francisco. Tony Stark did briefly, as did Daredevil on a few occasions. The X-Men. Who else? Superior Spider-Man did. Yeah, there have been. Black Widow has in the past as well. But yeah, so there have been superheroes operating out of San Francisco. But Lucy and Anya just are in the basement looking for more information. It seems there's an auction of rare animals. But the widows head that way to figure out what's really going on when they run into a hallway full of animal masked henchmen, who Natasha and Yelena promptly take down quickly. However, there's one more henchman they have to deal with. The Living Blade, who Natasha apparently met years ago in Madripoor. And that is where the issue ends. Okay. I've been loving the series. I really have been. So, I mean, yeah. It's hard for me to dislike an issue. And this was a good issue. As per usual. It'll be interesting to see who the Living Blade is. Though he is apparently going to be considered a myth. Anyway, moving on to our next book, we've got Moon Knight, number 4. Where we left off, Moon Knight was trying to discover just who it is that has targeted him. One of his hypotheses proved to not be the case, that he'd taken on Hunter's Moon, and basically told him, piss off before I show you how interesting I can be. Hunter's Moon listened. So the issue first off, we learned that Moon Knight sleeps in a sarcophagus. Yeah, he really does. But his therapist asks why the mask. He evades the question, kind of saying, hey, you deal with superheroes. I figure we all have. So I just figured that was kind of a thing. We're all here in our masks, but he tells her that when he wears the mask, he's not Mark Spector. And he explains he's not talking about his dissociative identity disorder. Adding that Mark Spector is nothing, and no one needs Mark Spector. But the Fist of Khonshu, people need him. The Fist of Khonshu is a symbol, a dead man brought back in the pursuit of justice. The masked face of Moon Knight is the face of Khonshu. It's part of his vestments, same as the costumes. A suit or a shroud, they're both things dead people wear. But find out that there's someone else who's been at least a potential possibility for who Yet another villain to be giving Mark Spector grief. Stuart Clark, formerly known as Rampage, and formerly, briefly, the Punisher's replacement for Microchip, and then you also after having his face horribly scarred, partner of Jigsaw. But apparently he's managed to track down Stephen Grant's account. Stephen Grant being the entrepreneur identity of Mark Spector. But while at the mission, Reese and Moon Knight are talking when Tigra shows up. And of course, he introduces Tigra to Reese. But while they're talking, and Tigra actually tries to pull his mask off, which Moon Knight readjusts. But Moon Knight gets a call from Clark. You just made $1 million of Stephen Grant's fortune disappear. But Moon Knight puts him on speakerphone, and well, Clark simply says it. That he has work for Moon Knight, and somebody says, if you, say I understand, any hesitation will result in more money disappearing, and so Mark understands. But Clark has sent him after Jigsaw. Mark wades through Jigsaw's henchmen, and then apparently goes after Jigsaw himself. But Clark tries calling him, but apparently the call can't be completed when Moon Knight shows up. And he actually makes Moon Knight broke. He basically, gets rid of all of Stephen Grant's money. However, like I said, Moon Knight's not alone. Tigra's with him. But as Clark is getting rid of Stephen Grant's fortune, Moon Knight simply tells him, money means nothing to him. He's a priest, and no wealthy priest has ever been good. Later, at midnight that night, actually, Moon Knight and Tigra talk. And Tiger makes note that something's different about him. Adding that she knows him. He can't hustle her. But he states that he's made a lot of bad choices since they were West Coast Avengers together. A lot of mistakes, done bad things to people, mostly ones who deserve it, but also people who didn't. I mean, there's a whole part where he was carving moons into people's spaces. Helped Khonshu take over the world. And it's explained that Marlene has taken their daughter and left the country, and told Mark never to come after them, as he's dangerous. But all night people have been asking him about the mask. And he tells Tiger that the real reason he wears the mask is so he doesn't have to look at his, so he doesn't look himself in the face. But Tiger offers to sit with him on the edge of a building until the new day earns the sun. And I'm just going to say it. I found, upon learning years and years ago about Moon Knight's past relationship with Tigra, I just found it to be a fun little joke. But now I ship him. Can this be? Can Tigra just be a regular in the book? You know. But yeah. Anyway, good stuff. The series again. It's a good series. Jed MacKay gets Moon Knight, and yeah, it was such kind of neat to see Clark back. I actually remember him when he. I remember when he had basically kind of became Punisher's second microchip. This was back, I want to say, during or after Civil War. I think during Civil War, but I had to get out. I had to slip out. I had to drop all my titles after a little bit, and well. But I heard that I had no idea he was actually a previous villain named Rampage. In fact, I learned that just tonight by looking him up on Wikipedia. Old Champions villain. Who'd have thunk? Anyway, moving on to our next book, we've got Spider-Woman number 16. Where we left off, Spider-Woman and her niece, Rebecca, were planning to go after Spider-Woman's brother, Michael, who amplified his powers because, well, you know, people do all kinds of dumb things, but he's since taken on the name Eternum. And then, of course, there's his pheromone-having girlfriend, Rose. Yeah. But apparently, Rebecca's got her own super suit that does kind of compensate for physical challenges she faces, but only compensates so much. But she wants to stop Rose and save her father. But Jess is not too thrilled at the idea of taking her niece out to, you know, do costume heroic stuff, hero stuff, but, well, Rebecca's not really taking no for an answer on this one. So, they go together. They sneak into the Martian Tower, and as there's something that's that Rebecca needs. So, but of course they run into her father and Rose, and we get the big super fight. We get the big superhero fight. Jess takes on Eternum, and Rebecca takes on Rose. Fight seems to be going fairly well, at least for Rebecca, until Eternum knocks Jess down one level, and so. But Jess makes a comment about how one thing she didn't forget about from using the Martian serum, which is part of what's turned Michael into Eternum, is how to use the full force of her powers, and she hits him with a rather strong venom blast. And at the same time, Rebecca injects one of the various serums that her father created into Rose. To explain that it was the same thing that seemed to that put Jessica's powers on the first at the beginning of the series. But they get the people that take care of superpowered criminals pick them up, and Jess and Rebecca have a nice little aunt niece moment with Jess. I was saying, you're not too bad at the superhero thing, but Rebecca's like, no, I'm just gonna be a super smart 17-year-old, super rich 17-year-old who owns her own company and does super genius stuff on the side. But still, her Aunt Jess explains that, I've always got your back. So, but that is where the issue ends. And honestly, Spider Woman's been another one of those books. So far, it's been consistently good. So yeah, good issue. On the one hand, I'm kind of glad that I wouldn't have minded if Rebecca became a sidekick of sorts to Jessica, but at the same time, I can understand them not taking that route. Anyway, moving on to our next book, we've got Darkhold, Blade. So in Darkhold Alpha, Blade was one of the potential. He was supposed to read part of the Darkhold to kind of get his mind ready for the madness of it. Instead, he as well as the others read too much. The would-be Darkhold defenders read too much, and they all went mad and became the Darkhold defiled. So we've seen the defiled Tony Stark story. Now it's time to see the defiled Blade story. So the more twisted path that the Darkhold showed him. It starts off very much like the climax of Blade, only Deacon Frost succeeds. Turns half the world's population into vampires, and the other half into humans. But the issue begins with Amadeus Cho being chased down by vampires until the vampires run into Blade, and he just starts wading through them. But Amadeus Cho, like I said, is on the run from some of these vampires, and Blade is now also looking for him, but he's grabbed by someone. Meanwhile, Blade is listening to underground radio and injecting his serum. But Cho explains a theory that he has to his saviors, that the Magra did find a host, Blade. That's why Blade's always wearing the sunglasses. When the Magra's in control, so a vampire's eyes are normally pink, but supposedly if the Magra's in control, their eyes glow red, which would be a good reason for Blade to wear sunglasses, right? But it turns out that we learn that those that saved Amadeus Cho are the last Avengers: Silver Sable, Prowler, and Citizen V. And turns out that a cure for vampirism is something that Cho's been working on, but it's in Fisk Tower. Wilson Fisk is basically the vampire lord of the East Coast. But Cho shows up, and he's given the last Avengers the intel they need to ambush Fisk. You basically making your way through an unused elevator shaft. Once, of course, Blade also shows up, and yeah. But Cho goes to see Fisk. And reveals that after Cho left, he had to buy us all an entirely new elevator, which is in the unused elevator shaft. Silver Sable sacrifices herself. But some silver gas. Aerosolized silver is pumped into the room. Cho manages to make his escape so that he covers his face before he can breathe any of it in. But Citizen V and Prowler are on the run when, well, Prowler was chained. Prowler, being a vampire, he's affected by the silver as well and tells Citizen V to keep running as he burns up. However, Citizen V runs into Blade just as Blade's finds Cho. The two of them, Blade and V have themselves a sword fight. Blade wins, and Citizen V is revealed to be none other than Kurt Wagner, who was among those that on Krakoa who turned human. He was barely able to escape the island or to teleport off the island before he became fully human again. Before he became fully human. But it turns out that the Lamagra theory is wrong. Blade's just Blade. But he also tells Amadeus Cho there's no such thing as a good vampire and tosses Cho to his death as the sun's coming up. But the way he sees it is that the way he looks at things is the vampire's won. And the world is already lost as a need for protectors. It needs a king. And from here on out, the world belongs to Blade. And that is where the issue ends. Fun little story. You know? I kind of like the fact that they used they kind of used the climax. They kind of used the first Blade movie as for being part of it. I was extremely surprised to discover that they utilized Nightcrawler as the new Citizen V. Kurt. But yeah, that was actually kind of cool. But yeah, anyway, moving on to our next book, we've got Amazing Spider-Man number 77. Where we left off, Peter Parker, having been exposed to a massive amount of radiation while fighting the UFOs with Ben Reilly, slipped into a coma after giving Ben his blessing to be the Beyond Corporation's Spider-Man, to share the Spider-Man mantle with him. And since Peter's going to be in the hospital for the foreseeable future, well, looks like it's just going to be Ben. So the issue begins, he's going through training with Misty Knight and Colleen Wing. They are not holding back either. Misty's using live rounds and, well, yeah. But training's finished, but Maxine Danger, who's in charge of the Beyond Corp, who's the head of superhero development for the Beyond Corporation, wants to have a chat with Ben on his way to therapy. We get some nice we see some of the other Beyond Corporation experiments, and we get some nods to some of their some of the things that were introduced in Next Wave, such as Killer Drop Bears, Broccoli Men, the band Thunder Thighs. Apparently, there's also a Sinister Sandwich department in the building. But and one of the sandwich technicians is thoroughly horrified by what they've done in there. We don't know what it is. It must be absolutely terrifying. But Maxine's mad about Ben having basically turned off his, slipped out of the suit to avoid being tracked twice in as many days. But it's basically, she wants him to say that he is Spider-Man, and that he wants to be Spider-Man, and that and if he doesn't, well, then they need to know that now so they can find someone else to wear the costume. But he wants to be, so you can tell her that. And so he goes to therapy, talks to Kafka about the conversation he had with Maxine, but also is talking more about some of his memories with Uncle Ben. Though he's also trying to have the, not mention the, somehow Dr. Kafka doesn't know that Ben Reilly is a clone of Peter Parker. So yeah, so he has to kind of, explain the fact that him and this friend of his, well, they both have very similar relationships with father figures and had very similar father figures in general, and so yeah. But there's a memory he's talking about, but he can't remember how it went. There was something he said, "Oh yeah, my aunt was going to say this, but wait, that's weird. I can't remember what she said." But apparently, it suggested Kafka tries, so she's at least going to try and get him some time off, and so Ben says he's going to try and do a date night at the hospital. MJ and May are sitting vigil. MJ explains she's called everyone she could think, started anyone she could think of that might be able to help Peter. Well, she called Doctor Strange, and well, she's not sure if Strange is even on this dimensional plane at the moment. He's dead, so she tried Tony Stark. Well, yeah, things are weird with Tony. There's that whole thing where he went into space with Ben, actually, before Ben got recruited by Beyond, and actually that's how Ben and Misty met. But there's someone that May's going to try. She goes off to do that, but looking in to make sure that Peter's doing all right is Black Cat. So apparently, Janine, Ben's girlfriend, finds it rather amusing that his therapist is named Kafka, and she always expects him to come back half cockroach. To be clear, half spider, half cockroach. But duty calls, so he's got to go and answer the call. And he gets teleported out and runs into Morbius somewhere in Midtown, who may have just fed on a whole bunch of scientists. So Spidey and Morbius duke it out. Ben's trying to not, trying to operate off the, the concept of, oh, well, clearly, maybe he's just maybe it's just a misunderstanding, and he needs help and someone to talk to. No, he's yeah. But Morbius has to drop on Ben, and the issue ends with Morbius sinking his fangs into Ben's neck. So once again, a fun issue. I really do enjoy that cover. I wouldn't have thought looking at it that was supposed to be Misty Knight's arm and Colleen Wing's sword. So yeah, kudos, good job, Art Adams. Good job. I mean, he always does good work, but Okay, this will then bring us to our final book for the week once I get this sucker back in the bag. Okay, there we go. But yes, on to our final book for the week. House of Slaughter, #1. So apparently, something that's killing the children has come to to an end. House of Slaughter focuses on, well, the rest of the House of Slaughter. So the first arc seems to be focusing on Aaron. He's on a hunt. He's in a trap, and a deer triggers it, and so he frees the deer, and he's writing his report, saying that he's probably one of the few who still properly fill out hunt logs, adding that he's pretty sure that Erica's logs all arrived shorthand on bar napkins or butt-dialed phone calls. But there's one thing he's learned is that there will always be monsters, and there must always be those who hunt. Then flashback to 15 years earlier during a training exercise. Aaron against 3 of the White Masks. He actually kind of does get the drop on them. However, his rope trap, the rope snaps. So the White Masks are declared the victors, but yeah. So, Jessica goes to talk to him. Well, first off, back in the present, Aaron finds the survivor of the monster he's tracking, and continues on the hunt. But we're focusing more on what happened in the past. But Jessica goes to talk to him about his performance that day, and you know, she explains that Aaron was anxious setting the trap, so the trap failed. He was cocky when he should have gone in for the kill. He was afraid, and so he died. And then, well, it turns out that she also got a roommate for him. Jace Boucher from the Maison de Boucher in New Orleans. He's transferring houses, which is normally not done. But since Aaron's his roommate, Aaron is tasked with showing him around the House of Slaughter. And so, they met. Like, yeah. This is the White Room where the White Masks reside. Library, computers, a room, the armory, dining hall, house grounds. Points out Erica, and then there's the Dragon's Keep, which Jace wants to see, but Aaron says it's off limits. No one's allowed up there. So, but Jace tells him that, hey, I'll tell Erica you're soft on her. So, takes him up there, and Jace gets to see the dragon. But then some of the White Masks show up and start giving Aaron grief. However, Jace steps in and defends him, saying, that Aaron's his roommate, so the White Masks don't mess with him. But it turns out that the hunt log, which picks back up, is about Aaron tracking and killing Jace, the last butcher, the first man he ever loved. And that is where the issue ends. Solid start. I would actually have to reread Something That's Killing the Children to see what if Aaron's fate was explained was shown in I think actually Aaron may have died, may have been killed by the monster, but I can't remember. Anyway, That's it for now. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. We've got a couple movie reviews coming up this weekend, as well as something a little fun, which I'm gonna have fun with it. I hope you guys enjoy it too. So, but anyway, this is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying, live long and rock hard.